welcome back to Money Medics. So for you guys that don't know, Money Medics, we are an infotainment platform where we talk about all things money management but from a lifestyle perspective.
And we are 2/3 of Money Medics, so we have our other co-founder, Ashley.
So it's been such a long time since we did a video, and I feel like every time we do a video, I'm always saying the same thing. There's been so much going on, but literally there has been so much going on. We recently got married. He put a ring on it. We went on a honeymoon. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And then as soon as we got back, literally the week after, coronavirus. So now with the lockdown in place, some of us have disposable income that we would have spent on things like commuting, close to work, going out with friends, etc. I know personally I used to spend £27 a day for my commute to work. So now we have nowhere to go. The question is, how do we make the most of this new disposable income?
So we're going to give a few suggestions, some of which we've tried more recently as a way of just kind of making the most of the extra cash you have available.
So ensure your unnecessary spending doesn't go up. And I've noticed that a lot of us, we tend to spend money when we've got nothing to do. There'll be times where like I can't sleep, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'll just be on Zara, just scrolling on Zara. This may sound ridiculous, but even when everything happened, I really panicked when...
Trust me, go tell us.
When the lockdown first started, I panicked for so many different reasons, especially also as like I work in healthcare as well, so I'm seeing other people panic as well. But yeah, I panicked, but I panicked on like really strange things. So for some reason I said to myself, oh my gosh, chocolate, there might be a time where I don't have access to chocolate anymore. I need to start buying chocolate. I need to make sure I enjoy the chocolate now because I don't know when I'm going to get it again. So I just started panicking on like so many different aspects. Like my anxiety just went through the roof, and it manifested itself in so many strange ways. So I did find that I was spending on really unnecessary items when this first hit.
No, like I'm a very, very laid back person. So I remember when the lockdown first started, or the days before the lockdown, he was saying, oh, we need to buy tissue, we need to buy this, I said, babe, chill, like nothing's gonna happen. And then my mum was also messaging as well, like, they might turn off the taps or whatever. I bought like lots of water, bought different things. So whatever you hear about the new stockpiling, yeah, she's one of those people.
No, I didn't stockpile like other people stockpile. I had to get tissue because I have really severe allergies, and I saw everyone else was finishing all the tissue. I was like, do you know what, I need to get at least, I'm going to cut this bit out anyway because it's not relevant. It's not relevant.
No, but
it's not relevant. I don't need to be defending myself.
Yeah. But yeah, in terms of unnecessary spending, I think for me, I'm not going anywhere, so there's no need for me to buy any new clothes or anything. Obviously, like, I'm not going to allow to cut my hair. My hair looks crap at the moment. I haven't bought any.
I think you should let me cut it for you.
No, you don't do that, babe. But like products, yeah. So in terms of unnecessary spending, I don't think mine has gone up.
So one of the reasons why ensuring that your spending doesn't go up during this period is because we actually don't know how long this is going to last. So I think it's really important at this time to ensure that we're saving and as diligent and vigilant with our money as possible. So how to do this? Well, try to avoid anything that gets you in the mood to spend. And you probably know what it is. For me personally, I find that there are certain websites that will email me with discounts. And when I mean discounts, there's one in particular that will be like, oh, 48% off for 48 hours, get your discount in now. And I know some of you guys know exactly which store I'm talking about. But if you find that these type of emails are influencing you to spend, unsubscribe, cut them out completely. We don't need any more loungewear. You know, we have enough loungewear, we have enough home clothes, we don't need any more.
What I recommend as well, if you haven't used it already, like there's apps like Alerta or is it ShopTagger? So like even before you unsubscribe to the emails, just make a list of all the items you want, so you're not kind of tempted into impulse buying. I've been reading somewhere that people spending on groceries, entertainment spend, so that's like subscriptions, and potential travel has gone up. I would say with subscriptions.
Wait, travel as well?
Yeah, because people are
that's interesting.
booking like future trips.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
Thinking, where are people going right now? There's no one to go. Just stay at home.
Yeah, but I remember we had a COVID talk recently, and there isn't really a clear view when it will be safe to travel again.
Yeah.
So just bear that in mind. And then with your subscriptions, literally just like pick one, like whether it's Netflix or it's Disney Plus, and then rotate it every month and just challenge yourself to like stick to one. And then your groceries, like what we benefited from.
Groceries? Oh, I'm American now.
Like,
your food shopping.
Yeah, so your food shop.
Joking.
Yeah. So what we benefit from the most as well is just like making a hardcore list, and then knowing that even when you enter the shop, the supermarket, you just challenge yourself. I'm not going to buy anything extra in the supermarket. And yeah, I found that's kind of maintained a food shop and also kind of picking low cost items.
If you have, like, for example, you've got the option of Tesco milk and, I don't know, Outpro milk, for example, you can just pick the Tesco milk. It's the same. There are some things where I have to pick a particular brand name because there's a certain taste to certain brands. For staples, I will just stick to the Tesco brand. Sorry, not necessarily Tesco, you can use it any brand you want, but I can just stick.
We're not sponsored by them.
We're not sponsored by Tesco unless you want to. For the staple items, stick to the store brand, whatever it is, the cheapest option that's available, because a lot of the time it is the same. Yeah, so overall, just be conscious of the different things that influence you to spend. Actively avoid that behaviour. So for example, if you notice you spend more on snacks when you go to Tesco on an empty stomach, then make sure before you go to Tesco you have something to eat. So a suggestion is to calculate how much you were spending in the months before the coronavirus. So look at your paycheck from like January, February times, and figure out what it was that you were spending at that time that you no longer need to spend on. So things like transport, clothes, going out to eat, etc. Basaba, I miss you, Basaba. But anyway, calculate those things. Adjust it to your current scenario. So if you have had to be furloughed, or if you've had to take a pay cut, for example, then adjust it based on what your current scenario is. So let's say the figure was £500, then adjust it by 80% if you've had to take an 80% pay cut, and that money you can now start putting towards something else. And the different things that you can put towards, we'll discuss it in this video. So with the spare income, one of the things that you can use your money towards is an emergency fund. And I know I rant on about this all the time. Emergency fund, emergency fund, emergency fund. I'm always talking about it. The reality is, especially during this pandemic, living paycheck to paycheck is so dangerous. And not just that, we don't know what is, like I've said this so many times as well, we don't know what the future is going to hold. So an emergency fund, do you want to explain what it is, what it's used for?
Yeah, so an emergency fund literally is a fund for unexpected expenses. So it's not an expense for if you want to travel to a different country because your other half is stressing you out. Babe, you don't stress me out.
I was going to say, this sounds like an indirect, like, I'm right here.
Or if you've had a hard time at work and you want to buy an AP, it's more...
What's an AP?
I can't even pronounce it properly. I can't pronounce it properly, but my guys or my ladies that know designers should know what it means. But it's more of a fund you use for, let's just say, if your car broke down, if like you've lost your job or you're facing redundancy, your boiler broke down, which you like to use as an analogy all the time. So that's
any emergency expense that just come out in the blue. You just need to have money for it just in case.
And I'm telling you, I've had 2 life experiences why I say having an emergency fund is so important. I remember before I started contracting, I left my previous employer and they didn't pay me my last month's salary. And it was a case of like my mortgage was coming out, all the other separate bills, and we were trying to save for the wedding as well. And yeah, literally, they forgot to pay me, and I didn't have any money. So I had to dip into my emergency fund and pay for all those relevant bills. So having an emergency fund is so important, and you shouldn't see your credit card as an emergency fund. And we've seen recently on the news like Virgin Media, they've suspended and cut people from spending on their Virgin Money credit card. And any minute, you don't know if your credit card provider could just reduce your credit limit. So you shouldn't see your credit card as your emergency fund. You should build your fund.
So how much you need for your emergency fund? Well, the way I calculate it is based on your general expenses. So if you look at your account and look at all the fixed expenses, so things like your mortgage, your rent, your council tax, bills, car payments, etc. Calculate all of that, and you need at least 6 months. With this pandemic, I would actually extend that and say 12 months is the minimum. And that's how much you should be aiming for as a buffer. So just in case anything happens. And that means you know that if anything was to happen, then at least you can sustain yourself for like 6 to 12 months. So our general expense a month is around just over £1,000. So we know in our emergency fund, we need to have at least £12,000 as a just in case anything happens security fund.
And even a bit more, because like...
that will just be like a minimum. So one of the things that you can do with the excess money that you might have would be to pay off high interest debt. And that usually comes in the form of like credit card debt, or I feel like I'm saying debt really weird, credit card debt, store cards, etc. And the reason for this is that if you don't pay it off, a lot of them have high interest, which means that every month they're adding an extra amount to the amount that you owe. You end up paying off a lot more than you actually spent in the first place. So let's say, for example, you use your card for a top that's £10. Let's say it charges 10% every month, for example. So first month it'll add £1, then the amount that you now owe is £11, and then the next month they'll add £1.10, and the amount that you owe now is £12.10, etc. And it will just continue to accumulate. In
terms of how to pay off the debt, this is probably one of the best times to do it. And you should actually use this opportunity to maximise 0% balance transfers. And I read some crazy report that there's been like a 50% reduction in the amount of 0% balance transfers available. We did a little guide on Instagram, so you can read that in more detail in terms of the steps to manage your debt. But utilize your 0% balance transfers. Don't get caught up in the habit of like just paying off this interest, especially during this period whereby cash flow and just the amount of money people have is tight.
And just another note, actually, some companies are doing repayment holidays, but a few of them are doing repayment holidays, but they are still charging you interest every month. So just be cautious of that. And what that means is that, let's say you owe £10,000 in your account and you pay off the minimum balance each month, you'll be paying off interest as well as part of how much you owe. So this might be a bit confusing, so next month's repayment should be less. But with the repayment holiday, if you're not paying back the capital, which is the amount that you spent on, the amount that you owe, then the amount that you owe is actually going to go up every month of that holiday, because they are still charging you interest every month.
So use this time, if you know you've got any form of high interest debt, consolidate it, wrap it up into a 0% balance transfer, and you can go on to places like, whether it's like ClearScore, a money saving expert, and they will give you, like, send back all the offers relevant to your credit score. So I'd say that's the best approach in terms of managing your debt. And then finally, I think another way you can use your money is kind of asking yourself, what are your personal goals? So do you wanna buy a house? Do you wanna start investing? Do you wanna, I don't know, do you wanna replace your boiler if you know it's about to break? Or do
I don't know if that's a goal. I think it could be a goal.
Because you had an issue with your boiler and stuff.
Yeah, it wasn't a goal to replace.
Or even, let's just say you want to pay off your car insurance in the year, you know, and instead of doing it in the monthly installment, you're saving money doing a massive payoff.
Actually, another examples of goals, those things are things like, I don't know, maybe you want to do a particular course, or you have a particular interest in an area that you didn't have the time or the spare disposable income to be able to invest into before. So that's what another
those are all goals. And I guess even with the courses, we are in a time and era whereby so many courses are free. You've got the LinkedIn courses that are free at the moment, you've got the Harvard courses that are free at the moment. Just literally.
Harvard courses. You can probably say, yeah, I went to Harvard.
Exactly. You know?
No, you didn't.
This is an opportunity to invest in yourself. Like, we've been talking about it. We're thinking of like signing up and doing coding and kind of holding ourselves accountable for it. So
I think everyone's looking into that right now.
Yeah, but I think this is an opportunity, you know. So whatever your personal goal is, this is an opportunity to use that extra cash to invest in yourself, so you can it can return more money in the long term. Even if you haven't lost your job, there's a chance that you could lose it by the end of the year. And I think this is an opportunity for people to really tap into their entrepreneurial ability and drive, and to reinvest back into yourself. And finally, yeah, we just got married. The next goal is actually planning for a child, you know.
Not yet.
Not yet, but those school fees aren't going to pay for itself. And for those who, if you haven't started saving, you haven't opened some sort of GC account, this is an opportunity to do it, you know. In the last budget, the government increased the GC account from 4,000 and something to 9,000. So if you've kind of mapped out your goals, you've invested in yourself, and you want to use this opportunity to invest in your kids, you can use the opportunity to start putting more money into your child's GC account. It's quite simple. I think companies like Wealthsimple or other companies like, I think Wealthify could be mistaken, they have GC accounts. So yeah, use this opportunity.
So guys, these are just a few suggestions on what you can do with any spare disposable income that you have at the moment. You can let us know in the comments what you plan to do with your money. That could give us some tips on what we could potentially do with our money as well. Follow us on Instagram. So this is just a quick plug, to be honest. We have a newsletter on our Instagram where we send all our COVID talks to. What are COVID talks?
Get people from the industry to come and give professional views about particular topics. So we've had one on travel, investing
on property. We've had on debt management. We've had talks on so many different topics.
Stay tuned, like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys soon.
Bye.